This is a Dreamcast disc and is for use only on a Dreamcast unit. Playing this disc on a hi-fi or other audio equipment can cause serious damage to its speakers.
Dreamcast, up to 6 billion players.
Welcome back to the stage of history.
Why don't we play together?
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.
Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the world's greatest podcast called DreamPod. It's a grand claim.
Well, if it's true, yeah.
The absolute best.
My name is Tom and I'm joined by my usual co-host all the way from Japan. His name is Ross. Hello, Ross.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, Ross.
And as you've heard, we have not one but two special guests joining the esteemed previous guest list. The likes of Adam Kowalik, Corey Marshall, Carlos Oliveros from Retro Summers, and Luke Benstead, who created the Dream Pie. We have Mr. Falco Girgis.
Hey. Damn, that's a lot to live up to. Those are pretty cool people.
And we also have Mr. Patryk Kowalik. I hope I pronounced your name right.
Yeah, and suddenly I have stage fright.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, Jesus Christ, okay.
For those people who are listening who don't know who Falco and Patryk are, they are the two-man team now who are behind one of the most eagerly anticipated independent games for the Dreamcast and the PC, Elysian Shadows, which is a modern-day take on the 16-bit era of role-playing games. Before we get into the game and why it looks so amazing, just have a quick run round the room and see what you guys have been playing or doing on the Dreamcast. Ross, I'll come to you first. Have you been playing anything on the Dreamcast recently?
Not so much of a Dreamcast. I've been fiddling around with my Naomi on my arcade cabinet, and I recently bought a Namco System 256, which is like the Naomi is equivalent of a Dreamcast. The System 256 is the arcade equivalent of a PlayStation 2. So I've been playing Tekken 5 on that and stuff.
That's awesome.
Falco and Patryk, if you didn't already know, Ross is quite the big arcade hardware fan, so he does collect these weird and wonderful machines. I've not got a clue personally, but that's his bag.
I do know what the Naomi is. As a Dreamcast developer, it'd be kind of bad if I didn't. I do know what that is. At very least, yeah.
You're making a port of ES to Naomi, aren't you?
You heard it here first, folks. It's coming to Naomi.
I suppose confirmed.
I don't know what
Dreamcast
else
Junkyard.
you would have to do to put it on a Naomi from a Dreamcast. If I knew what it would take, absolutely, I would. I'd have to look at the hardware. I don't know, actually.
I'm completely... It'd be a complete waste of your time to port an RPG to...
Dude, no, trust me. I port ES to random shit just for fun, like.
Yeah, I think like once Falco made it run on Google Glass.
Yeah, for 2 seconds and then it crashed, but it was pretty cool. 2 seconds.
What about you guys? I mean, do you still play in your Dream? I know you're heavily involved in the development side of things now, but you still take time out to enjoy the Dreamcast?
The last thing I played on my Dreamcast was Pure Solar, which I'm still in the middle of. I had to stop for a minute just because I've been working so much. But actually, I have, since I've been working on a new VMU emulator kind of software suite for the VMU. So I've actually been turning the Dreamcast on a shitload and just the file manager and looking at those goddamn icon animations to make sure I'm emulating them correctly in ElysianVMU.
We will come on to that in good time. We don't want to shoot our load prematurely.
Okay, my bad. I'm only half with my load. I'm good.
What about you, Patryk? You've been playing on your Dreamcast at all?
I actually have to confess that I'm a heathen, and I played some Dreamcast back when I was in States. But my first and only console was Sega Genesis, and then it was PC all the way.
PC Master Race, yeah.
Yeah, Falco is the one who provides sort of console experience.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say.
Get off this podcast.
Well, now we have
banned.
I honestly, I don't know how he survives or how he stands me. But on the other hand, I'm the one who brings like all the like PC part of gaming into the Dreamcast. So you guys might see some pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is funny how, we're both involved in game design, and I'm very much a console gamer. He's very much PC, so there's a lot of aspects of both in ES.
All right, guys. To be honest, I've not really played much on my Dreamcast. I've played. I recently did an article on the 10 worst games on the Dreamcast, and that actually mentally scarred me for life. So
really, I want to see that article. It's going to be funny if they're all my favorite games. Like
that's unlikely. It's pretty unlikely.
It says Soul Calibur, Crazy Taxi, Shenmue. No,
I was like, I would kill someone. If Samba de Amigo is on that list, I will kill someone.
No, it's all the crap. I'll point you towards it. Later after we've done the episode, so you can have a read of that. All right, guys. To you guys listening, obviously this episode is all about Elysian Shadows. It's all about Falco and Patryk and how they got involved with the Dreamcast. And if you don't know what Elysian Shadows is, take a few minutes, just get yourself on Google, type Elysian Shadows into Google, and you'll get an info burst.
And just skip the Reddit hate bullshit. You can.
You'll get an info burst, all right. Yeah.
Again, we'll come to that in good time. But first things first, I don't know if this has really been answered with the previous question, certainly for Patryk. Anyway, Falco, I want to ask you this question. What's your history with the Dreamcast, and when did you kind of first get involved with the console?
It's a brilliant, beautiful history. Actually, okay, I have something to admit. I never played the Dreamcast during its lifetime. It was 2004. One of my neighbors said, if you mow my lawn, I'll give you a Dreamcast. And I was a console gamer. I had a PlayStation 2, and I was like, fuck, I'll take a free console, So I did it, and I got the Dreamcast. And the first thing I remember is I was playing Resident Evil Code Veronica on the PS2, and I started playing it on the Dreamcast. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is better than the PS2. What? And then I bought Sonic Adventure, and I was immediately hooked because holy shit, here's this console that was discontinued that is actually better than the PS2. And I was just completely immersed in this world. And I remember I was Googling some shit for the Dreamcast, and I stumbled upon DreamcastEmulation.org, which is that's where I was introduced to the homebrew scene. And I found out, there was this group of crazy motherfuckers who were making homebrew games, homebrew emulators, and this kind of stuff. All from a reverse engineered library chaos for the Dreamcast. And I remember burning my first Dream SNES disc, and I was just blown away. I could not believe that people were able to do this. You have to remember, this time frame was before the App Store. It was before Xbox Live Arcade. Console development was something that indie developers, you just didn't do it. That was something completely unheard of. So I remember just being so impressed, and I was already in love with this console. I remember thinking to myself, I will do anything to be able to program for this thing. So I just completely immersed myself in the DCEmulation.org scene. I made friends there, set up the tool chain, and just I rendered my first polygon on the Dreamcast before I ever did anything on the PC, actually. And it's just love ever since then.
Oh, wow.
I gotta say, I was really the thing that really surprised me was how lively and vibrant and supportive Dreamcast community is to this day. It's really a hidden gem in the internet, because you don't really think that console that's been long dead. We have people who are playing video games and are younger than the console, and yet it's still supported. There are still people playing it. There are still games being released, and I was really astonished that when we had our Kickstarter. Most of our sales were, and I think to this day, still most of our sales are for Dreamcast.
That's true.
I think it's a very interesting point you make, Falco, is that I think a lot of people came to the system after it was already dead.
Right.
But the other point I want to ask you is just how big was this garden that you actually mowed to get a free Dreamcast? Because it sounds like a lot of work for a free Dreamcast.
Yeah, it was pretty big, but oh my God, it was worth it. When I got, it even came with a VMU, and I think it was Ready to Rumble Boxing or something.
Yeah.
But I went out and bought Sonic Adventure right away. I hadn't played a Sega console since the Genesis, and I fucking loved Sonic, so I missed how many years of Sonic. So getting back to Sonic Adventure, I was like, oh my God, yes.
And of course, in that sort of that golden period between the console kind of going down the toilet and then becoming a highly sought after retro machine, it was really cheap to buy games. Certainly in 2004, 2005.
I stocked up.
You may not have known it at the time, but you did get one just in time to still class it as a contemporary system, because the last game was actually released in Japan in 2006.
Right.
Even if you didn't know it at the time, you did just get in there. Barely.
I got it just in time that it was cheap as hell in the US, and all the GameStops still had games, and games were everywhere, but they were really cheap. So it was actually a really good time to get into the Dreamcast.
Oh, totally agree. All right, so we've established kind of when you got involved with the Dreamcast as a consumer, as it were, and going off into starting to tinker with Dreamcast development. So what's the history with Elysian Shadows Team? Like, how did you become a development team? What was the catalyst, basically? Where did you begin?
It all really happened from YouTube and our series Adventures in Game Development. Basically, it started off as, we've been working on at least the technology leading up to this game for years. Like 7 years ago, we would, hang out and start working on the game together, showing the engine crashing or whatever, just a bunch of guys hanging out, chugging energy drinks, staying up all night. We started recording these sessions as what we wanted to be unlockable content on the disc. After you beat the game, you could get like videos showing the development of it. And then we had the idea, well, we'll just throw them on YouTube, and they just kind of took off. Like, people really liked them.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched quite a lot of your videos, especially the really early ones.
Oh God,
number
those,
1, number 2.
Not those ones.
Yeah. The all night ones when you're in the attic bedroom. Yeah.
I don't like those episodes anymore, but yeah,
So we'll be sure to put links in the show notes so everybody can watch them.
If you will look just right, you can see the nerdiness seeping out of your monitor as you're playing the videos.
And that's really how we've acquired everyone on this team, other than like Tyler, who I knew in real life. Is they've reached out to contact us, like Patryk, like, oh, I saw your Adventures in Game Development series,
I think I was like, from all of the people I remember, I think I was the only one who was already working as a game developer before joining on the team. And I saw that Falco and the rest of the team were looking for concept artists, and that's something. I saw a project that had a lot of promise, that it was really something big. It was something that could change my life. So I joined in.
Note, he did not say pixel artist. He said concept.
Exactly. And then when I joined in and I saw the little pixel art that we had, because I joined and the engine was already running. The engine was working. The toolkit was working. You could already build levels back then. It was 2012. But I saw that the pixel art that we had was really fucking shitty. That the pixel art back then was basically the pixel artist was unresponsive. So I was like, well, someone's gonna build the fucking game. Might as well be me. So I've learned pixel art so we could make Elysian Shadows.
So guys, the game has quite a unique visual style, and I was wondering, where did you get the inspiration or ideas for the style you chose? Like, what games inspired you the most? I mean,
actually, it started off, if you look at our earlier screenshots, the game looks, well, first of all, it looks nothing like it does today. Second of all, it looks like shit. It started off a lot less ambitious than it was today. It started off being a strictly old school kind of RPG. There wasn't this modern aesthetic element to it that there is today. It was just a plain 2D RPG, like barely on the level of Chrono Trigger graphically. So originally we were just influenced by Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, Phantasy Star, Dragon Quest, I would say Fire Emblem, all the great console JRPGs of back in the day.
I take it these were games that you played a lot of as a kid then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I grew up loving these Final Fantasy 6, and I wanted to kind of pay tribute, and I had a storyline too that I really wanted to tell, and I thought that was like the ultimate kind of game genre for being able to tell a story. As time progressed, you get better at your job. You have to remember, when I first started this, I was like 17 years old, coding on like a Dreamcast.
Yeah.
as time progressed, like I just kind of, stopped sucking ass at programming, and I'm always the kind of guy who wants to improve. Same with Patryk. So we were always pushing the envelope. And as we were doing that, like, hey, dude, what if we added dynamic lighting? What if we went to like an actual 3D perspective? All of that just kind of came along. It wasn't originally planned, but it was a product of us like always trying to push ourselves, always trying to do the most and the best we could. And then before we knew it, the game had aesthetically morphed into something that it wasn't initially. It wasn't really an old school 2D RPG anymore. It was like a modern reinterpretation of it at that point.
Yeah, I was watching one of your recent videos, and you were talking about like a 3D physics engine converted into 2D or something. And I was like, how did you come to the conclusion that you need this in this 16-bit style RPG?
Well, actually, people don't necessarily know it, but our engine and the Elysian Shadows game is actually fully 3D. Instead of loading sprites, you could load a character model and boom, it's like a completely 3D game. Like the engine is 3D. It kind of came about as, okay, we have this 2D game. Suddenly we're adding dynamic lighting. Well, dynamic lighting, bump mapping, and all that stuff is something that happens in a 3D world space, So suddenly we need 3D lighting equations. And then I believe around that time we decided to add the mechanics of being able to jump, kind of like Mario RPG. So suddenly you actually do need a 3D aspect of the geometry. And then before we knew it, the map itself was 3D, the metadata was 3D, levels are being created in 3D, and I was just like, fuck it, we can add a different perspective, for certain areas or whatever, and before I knew it, the engine more or less was 3D.
It appears to me to have a kind of almost a Parappa the Rapper style aesthetic, with like the kind of the flat sort of stand-up characters. Is that the look that you were going for?
Yeah, yes and no. So it doesn't look as flat because we do have 3D lighting and bump mapping, and that the bump mapping specifically is what's giving flat textures like a more 3D aesthetic. So yeah, to some extent it's billboarded like that, but it's also a lot less flat than that. What do you think, Patryk?
Also, the characters will be normal mapped, so they will be looking like 3D objects. It's just that Spine is being kind of a bitch.
That's our animation tool.
Yeah. It's Spine is what we're using for animations, and we initially decided to use it because. I don't know how much into technicalities I should be, because I imagine it will become quite boring for people who have no interest in game dev. Yeah, maybe let's skip that. I wanted to say the particularly funny story was with lighting and how that came about. I remember that I was kind of bugging. Like it's a great example how you will ask Falco for inch and he will give you a mile, because I remember being very. I don't remember which exactly game was that inspired me, but I remember seeing very nice lighting effects in 2D game, which were very basic. It was just like point lights. They weren't really casting any actual shadows. They were kind of faked. It was like very simple effect, and I started making mock-ups in Photoshop for Falcon. I was like, hey, look, that's looking nice, right? We could have it, right? So, I was kind of bugging him, and then he said, well, fuck it, let's make full 3D lighting with dynamic shadows, 16 light sources on one scene, and all kind of craziness.
Yeah, I'll never forget. You should. At first I was like, fuck no, we're not doing advanced lighting, because I didn't know how to do it. And it kind of stemmed from my own insecurity. I realized I was being insecure because I didn't know how to do the lighting, and then it made me feel like shit as a developer. And then I decided I wanted to push myself, fuck it, I'll learn how to do this. And that's how a lot of stuff in ES has come about. And I feel like that a lot of like that kind of insecurity and trying to get over it is what's made me the developer I am today. Because at first I was afraid to attempt dynamic lighting, and I just wanted to brush it off because, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how we would handle it. But basically I took a Christmas break one year, and that's all I did was like the lighting equations and shaders and stuff for that.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a very nice kind of like a day-night cycle.
Yes,
which I thought was quite impressive. So yeah, obviously it's paid off in that sense.
I mean, like even the character sword will reflect metallically based on the direction of the sun.
Yeah, we can have different surfaces for different.
Oh yeah, because we have so few levels. Like you, honestly, like people haven't even begun to see what like the engine is capable of from that aspect.
Yeah. I was going to ask. The name Elysian Shadows. Whenever I hear the name, I just think of the movie Elysium. The same guy who did District 9 and maybe I'm uneducated or something. But what does Elysian Shadows mean? Can you?
It's an intentional oxymoron. So like the Elysian Fields is it's a mythological plane where when heroes would die, that was like their heaven. They wouldn't go to the underworld, they would go there, and it was like a mythical plane of paradise. And the shadows aspect is kind of like implying that, maybe this paradise is not what it seems to be, that something's wrong in paradise. So it's an intentional paradox in the name that's supposed to make you go, like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, who lives in the shadows of paradise?
Yeah, no, it adds an even more mysterious kind of dimension to the game, and because obviously you've never really released any details on the story, so that's kind of what makes me want to play it even more.
Yeah, I was trying to work out what the story's all about. All there is like there's a short blurb, like a paragraph and a half or so on your official website. And I was looking back at your videos, and you can't really make out anything sort of like the game story-wise, which is totally a good thing.
We're accused of not having a storyline, which is honestly, it's completely bullshit. We had a storyline before we had anything. It's the way the story is and flows. It's very hard to give more than just like what you would see on the back of the disc when you buy it at the store without ruining certain plot elements, because like we want it to have this whoa, holy shit factor, like, and it has a bunch of plot twists and stuff. We don't really want you to know necessarily what the main conflict is yet.
To be fair, we have this Skype chat group for our fans, and whoever wants, they can join and just talk to us directly as developers. And once upon a time, I wanted to spill the beans and talk more about the site, and people were raging about spoilers. So I was like, well, that's something I'm not going to talk about.
You get some people who will accuse you of, you don't even have a storyline, and then you have some people who are like, yeah, you have a storyline, don't fucking tell me, I don't want to know yet. So, it's like, I would rather see like the reviews on gaming sites when it comes out, like, holy shit, this storyline is whoa, like we weren't expecting it, like there's nothing that's ever been done in an old school style game, rather than, oh yeah, this was the storyline that they presented.
Yeah, that's something that really resonates with me because I'm Polish, and one of the most ragey games from Poland that came out recently is obviously Witcher 3, and so many people were enthralled with the story and the moral choices, and people were really excited about the story of The Witcher, and that's something that I really want to live up to as well. Like, I want people to talk about Elysian Shadows as they talked about Witcher.
Me too.
I want people to sort of have to pause the game and think about what kind of decisions they would want to make.
Which is something
humans,
that you never see done in like an old school 2D RPG. The storylines, other than like Chrono Trigger and a few others, are kind of flat. I want this to be like, oh my god, like you're empathizing with these fucking 16-bit sprite characters, like there's another emotional level of connection there that has not been done in that style game.
Yeah, like you remember how many people tried to reload or restart Final Fantasy because they wanted to save Ares, right?
Right, yeah. Okay, guys, we've established what the game's all about, who you are, and what your inspirations are, and why the game is so important to you, and also the meaning behind the name. That's the key one. What I want to talk about now is the Kickstarter, really, and how it all happened. And I've never launched a Kickstarter. There was a Kickstarter recently that was cancelled by our good friends at Retro Summer. Xenocider, which is very, lamentable.
Unfortunate.
Yeah,
totally.
It's a real shame. It looked like it was going to be a good
Hey,
one.
I was in their video, man.
I'm sure it'll come back. It'll come back.
Me and you both, Falco. We both.
Oh, that's right. You were in there too.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? They contacted. I got a message at like 10 p.m. right after my hair transplant surgery. Hey, we need a video. And you notice I'm wearing a hat in that video. I look like fucking Frankenstein. I was high as hell on painkillers. You know, when I did the get ready and I fell on the fucking floor, I don't even know if that hurt because I was on painkillers from my surgery.
It was an Oscar-winning performance, though, I must say. If you But yeah, now your Kickstarter, obviously this was in 2014, and the game was funded, and it was, a bit of a whirlwind. Can you just kind of talk us through how it went? I mean, because obviously from the outside looking in, having never been, a person on Kickstarter, I don't really know how it works. So we, checking how many people had pledged and that kind of thing. Or...
Oh my god, no! It's the most absolutely exhausting thing I've ever been through my entire life. So basically, I worked a respectable engineering job as the guy who did fiber optic networking equipment at a telecom company. And basically, I'd always wanted to be a game developer, and we were blowing up on the internet with our Adventures in Game Development series. That's really where it all started. We had like 10,000 subscribers, people were like, holy shit. And we've been hyping up the fact we wanted a Kickstarter. So my impatient ass, I quit my job before any funding whatsoever. So I didn't have a choice. I was like, I'm just going to put my heart and soul into this Kickstarter, and I think I'm going to make it. So I quit my job, and I literally worked day and night. We all did, just, contacting every podcast, posting on forums, contacting all the gaming sites, most of which told us to go fuck ourselves. Like, just trying to get the word out there, making YouTube videos. And oh my God, when the Kickstarter starts, oh yeah, like all day, your full-time job is just trying to promote the Kickstarter. Because the biggest mistake people make is they think, oh, I'm on Kickstarter, people are going to come. No one's going to come. That's not how Kickstarter works. You have to go in with an audience or create an audience. No one just knows out of nowhere, about your Kickstarter or to pledge to it. So every day, your full-time job is to be answering questions and trying to get the Kickstarter,
Yeah.
And every day, you're looking at your little curve of like estimated projections and shit. And if your curve is not looking okay, like that's a huge problem. Chances are you won't get funded at that point. So we would obsess. I would get push notifications to my phone, obsessing over every little backer. You can also see when people cancel their pledge. And you're like, oh my God, what the fuck did I do wrong? I remember waking up in the morning and being like, oh my God, if this doesn't get funded, like it was looking really close, our curve one day. This is a game I've worked on for 5 years. I quit my job, and it's not good to have a failed Kickstarter associated with a game,
Do you think I know I've obviously looked into the history of the Kickstarter and the game, and I know that you were featured on, was it WHNT 19 News, which is a local...
I was actually on 2 local news stations, yeah.
Yeah, and that was that the kind of the point where it kind of went like stratospheric? Do you think you... Actually,
no, because the thing is, I live in the middle of Redneckville, Alabama, Being on the news for me was more like a fuck you to everyone locally who thought that I, wasn't doing anything with my life.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much that people in the middle of, cotton fields, Alabama were going to go support this Kickstarter. I don't know that really translated to much financially.
The 2 blew up points were essentially when we started the Kickstarter, and by the way, we were postponing the start of the campaign like 3 times because we were still rendering the video for the show, even though, Falco before mentioned the mistakes of that other people do. I would say that the biggest mistake would be that people are starting their work on Kickstarter once their campaign is live, and that's so wrong. We started working on Kickstarter before, like, Elysian Shadows Team started working on our Kickstarter, even before Kickstarter was a thing, when they started making YouTube videos and building a community. Then we were
Right.
starting actually working on by like a year before we started the campaign, when we started dropping hints that we're thinking about Kickstarter and people were mentioning and asking about Kickstarter. 2 months before we started the actual campaign, we already had set the time and date when we start, and we started massive media push when we were going on podcasts and talking with people, and that's where Kickstarter became our day job essentially. And then once the campaign goes, the insanity goes even further, and then you're basically 24/7 working on the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Right.
And we had this launch party where Falco was back in Alabama, where all of the international members were on the live stream, and there were like other people joining in, and we're just entertaining and hyping up the contributions. Like I'm thinking donations because it really reminded me of when live streamers are hyping up their donations. That's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
And then throughout the Kickstarter, we will do a couple of events like that as well. I mean, a couple of things, yeah.
I want to make one important point to remember on Kickstarter that we actually didn't know either. We made a Kickstarter at about the worst time to make it. The economy has so fundamentally shifted. A lot of the Kickstarters that we were inspired by, like Hyper Light Drifter, to a lesser extent, Pure Solar even, that, if you have a good product, a good page, and you put it out there, back in the day, you did not have to do as much work as we did promoting, because all these gaming sites would cover you. But then so many Kickstarters failed that these gamer sites, instead of stepping up and taking responsibility for, oh wow, maybe we promoted the wrong Kickstarters, they blamed the entire platform and they refused to cover any Kickstarters. It was so depressing to us that here we were making this like groundbreaking game, making an engine that will let you make games on the Dreamcast, Ouya, all this shit, things that honestly should have been all over all these gaming sites compared to all the other bullshit Kickstarters they were covering. And we would wait and wait every day, and it never came. The press was never there until we were actually funded because of that backlash. And that's what people have to realize, is the Kickstarter economy and culture has changed so much, and it's really depressing.
Yeah, at the time, press was more interested in writing articles, top 12 amiibos to use as your butt plug.
Oh yeah, there were way more articles about what Zoe Quinn was doing with her vagina and whose dick she was sucking than there were about us. And to me, that was just like the ultimate like slap in the face about the gaming press. And I'm still not fucking over it. I'm still kind of pissed off that that's the way it was.
On that note, Falco, weren't you photographed having like champagne with Zoe Quinn after you funded?
That's okay. So that's another thing I'm giving shit about. So you can clearly see from my tone of voice that I'm not a supporter of her. That I don't like what she did. So we have all these like pro Gamergate people thinking I'm in bed with her. All that happened was I went to a fucking gaming convention after we were funded, and this was an open bar and it was free, and all we did was talk about gaming and game development. And this girl, as much as I disagree with her philosophy, she was never anything but nice and respectful of me. And she actually even posted, well, actually, she lost her phone, and it was a whole fiasco because she was all worried people were going to find it, whatever. And I gave it back to her instead of being a piece of shit and going through her texts. So basically, it came down to
what?
Basically, it came down to like this girl and was never doing anything bad to me, So I'm not going to be a fucking dick to a fellow developer who is at a game development conference, who's doing nothing but talking about game development in a very professional manner, and is not doing anything other than being nice to me, As much as I disagree with her philosophy.
There is this thing of tribalism in modern internet when people expect you to hate other people based on their convictions, and I strongly
disagree. Right, and that's just disgusting. Like she was very respectful and nice to me. So as much as I disagree with her on a philosophical level, I was too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not religious. That's the same thing as, am I supposed to hate every religious person now? And I can't have a picture taken with them?
For crying out loud, I was liberal when I joined Elysian Shadows Team, and Falco didn't rip my asshole in half.
So yeah, we've gotten so much shit over that picture. My God.
I think what we'll do is we will come back to that kind of subject in a little while. But what I wanted to say first of all is I just want you to know that I actually backed the Kickstarter. It was only $5. It was only $5 because I couldn't afford to buy it. But I just wanted to put that one in there. And
I didn't back the Kickstarter. 2004. Wait. Give me a fucking chance. Wait. But I know. I think 2004 was around. For some reason, I don't even think I've heard about the Kickstarter. I must have been like out the loop, busy with something. I don't know. I think
because the gaming sites weren't writing about it. So yeah, I can't blame you.
Yeah, well, for whatever reason, I didn't hear about it at the time. I think, anyway, and maybe 6 months or so after the Kickstarter had been funded, I heard about it, and then I went onto your site, and I have ordered a game or backed it through your. I can't even remember the process now, but I know I have. Backed it through your website.
Yourself. Yeah. All right, guys. Let's move on from the Kickstarter. Let's talk about, if you're happy to, the fact that now it's just you two, and it wasn't always that way. Can we talk a little bit about past members and how it actually evolved into just the two-man team that it is today?
Honestly, it actually kind of was always this way, regardless of how many people were supposedly on the team. You want to start off, Patryk? Or?
Yeah, let me just say that...
I think I've been talking a lot.
Working on Elysian Shadows made me lose faith in humanity. Because we had before even there was any money in play, when we all were working on it for free and it was our hobby project. Back when I was, since I joined until the Kickstarter, there was 7 or more artists going through the team. They would just come over. I would spend time training them and teaching them how to work. Like we're talking skills that they can just go and apply and get a job, because that was my job at the time. And then they would just leave, and it would be the same shit happening over and over again. Or we would get people who would come on a team and do jack shit, and just have a nice ego boost that they're part of the Elysian Shadows team, while we relied on them to do anything. So yeah, I got really salty.
There would be plenty of days in Skype where it would just be, we had a team conversation and Patryk and I would be like, has this guy done shit? Like, has he done anything? Yeah. And especially Tyler was the biggest one, because towards the end, he was part of the videos and stuff. And towards the end, you can look at his commit logs on Git and see that he literally was not producing anything or doing anything. Yet here we all were having to live off of this Kickstarter money. Here's this guy who's making as much money as I am off Kickstarter just out of necessity. He had a mortgage payment. Patryk wasn't making a dime at the time. This guy was skipping work he was missing almost as many days of work as he was coming. He wasn't really getting anything done while he was coming, and he was slowly sucking the money pool dry,
Is this what led to the misadventures in game development video that you did?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and what's worse is that we try to talk about it so many times, because it's not like we're just, you make one slight mistake and we kick you off the team. That's not the thing.
Oh my god, dude! I swear to God,
So just talk out of.
It's a good story.
Yeah. Okay. I will let you. I will just tell my embarrassing story. So it was 2 months after a Kickstarter when I started heavily researching normal mapping of pixel art and how to exactly make the art file, etc. And I spent 2 months on it, and I was going the wrong direction. So at certain point, I had to come back to the team and say, hey guys, I let you down. I wasted 2 months because, what I was working on, it's not applicable. I need to go the other way. And we took it as champs, and we just went over it. There was just this communication that, okay, I fucked up. We might be behind.
And honestly, that's what happens in a game project like this that is so R&D intensive, that is trying to do something new and inventive and pushing the envelope. There is not another game or game engine out there quite like ours. Sometimes you'll invest in technology and you'll fuck up. You'll go the wrong way. You back up. It's not a big deal. That's part of wanting to make ES as grand as it is, instead of just wanting to settle for a cookie cutter little shitty 2D RPG.
At the time when I started it, there was only 3 or 5 other people on the planet, at least on the internet when I could find the records, who were doing pixel art with normal mapping. Like, there was like literally nothing to learn from. I had to start everything from scratch from my understanding of,
And a teach yourself kind of thing. Teach yourself.
Yeah, like just, R&D, right? But, I spent some time and I had to go back and I just had honest discussion with a team what to do and how to go about it. And then also, so, coming back to losing faith in humans, we had some people who had to leave a team, but they were very graceful about it. They just talked to us. They said, hey, I don't think I can do this anymore. It doesn't excite me, or I just don't have it what it takes. And we will part ways, and it will be very friendly. What we are salty about is people who either just disappeared off the radar, or they were claiming that they were working while doing jack shit and claiming paychecks.
So when Tyler left, like, this guy had been my best friend for like 7 years or something. Literally, I woke up at my house. The development studio's a trailer next door to my house. Like, I live next door. So I walk over and I see him and his parents just taking all of his shit and loading it up. He did not even give us a lot of equipment was his that we were using.
Well, so Falco, you just kind of looked through the window and saw this happening.
Exactly.
Right.
He didn't give us a second heads up to commit the code or the pixel art that we were working on before he ripped the server that was his out from under us. He took routing equipment, he took the server, he took Patryk's fucking bed, his desk. He literally sabotaged us for 2 weeks having to recover all this because he did not have the maturity level to tell us, sorry guys, I want off the team.
Did he give a reason?
Not as far as I know.
I'm sure it'd be something like I was an asshole, but honestly, there was a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. I've been to engineering school. I'm working on a master's. I've been programming like most of my life. Tyler was new to this. I just don't think he was up to the challenge. And then there was a lot of substance abuse because we both had Adderall prescriptions at the time. I still do. And he was taking more than he should have. And I just think he burned out mentally and emotionally. He couldn't handle the stress. And, the team, we would all be here working, like, where the fuck are you? He wouldn't show up for days. And then we would bitch, you're getting paid like Patryk isn't. How's that fucking fair? And not only that, but the people on YouTube would be able to see for the last 5 chapters in Adventures in Game Development, we've seen one clip of this guy where I had to force him to record, and, he was in all the previous ones and suddenly he's disappeared. I think that all of that pressure, just like he cracked and he couldn't do it. And instead of being a man about it and saying, look, man, I either need to quit or I need some time to get my shit straight, he just decided to try to sabotage it like a bitch.
Yeah, if he would just say that he needs a briefer, there is nothing wrong about it. We all deal, all have dealt with all kinds of shit in our lives. Recently, I finally cracked and decided I need to go to psychiatrist because I cannot manage my depression. And I told Falco,
everyone on this team right now, because there's only 2 of us, we're all on antidepressants. It's just that's part of Kickstarter.
The way it was is that I said, Falco, look, dude, I'll be starting meds and I will not be as productive as I would have been, but it's all for the greater good in the long run. And Falco was extremely supportive. He's honestly my best friend at the moment because he's the one who helped me go through it. So
no, that's that's really kind of courageous to admit that on a podcast. I totally respect you doing that.
I really it. Does not bother me at all. Yep, I'm on a happy pill and it's fucking awesome.
For the life of me, I just can't understand why the backers are at all worried.
I know,
about the
right?
project.
Here we are working our asses off.
What the hell, man?
I will admit
assholes.
that we are not updating Kickstarter as frequently as we should. Although if you look at Facebook, Google+, Instagram, Twitter, we update that shit almost every day. Literally almost every day. We have a real-time Skype conversation where about 80 people at all times every day know exactly what we're working on. We used to do live streams every day. We just have fallen behind on Kickstarter updates because we're so goddamn overworked. And then people think that we took the money and ran. It's like, dude, have you looked at any of the rest of the internet? Like, I admit it, I'm sorry, we've been really bad about Kickstarter updates. That does not mean that we're thieves. That just is literally a reflection of the fact we're so fucking overworked.
I think anyone who just takes a brief look at your social media, or just types in Elysian Shadows or Falco or whatever, will soon be able to see quite clearly that you've not run away and taken everyone's money to get a hair transplant, like some people are saying. Like, I mean, I could see you guys are like literally driving yourselves close to breaking point for this game. I'm not saying it's whether the game will be finished or whether it'll be a fantastic game, whatever. That's still up in the air, but. To say that you just ran off with the money and you're not bothering, that's bullshit. Yeah. I mean, anyone can see that you're working your ass.
Yeah, I wanted to just take that on to kind of lead into the next point that I wanted to raise, if you don't mind, Falco. No, this thing that I sent to you earlier in the week. Is this big long JPEG of how to be an indie game developer, which is it's basically just like taking screenshots of you and saying this guy took our money and he's partying with Zoe Quinn. Just obviously reference what we were talking about earlier. All this kind of, how do you? Obviously, the realities of being somebody in the public eye is not like sunshine and rainbows. How do you cope with this kind of shit that you see? Because I honestly, let's put it into my own perspective, right? Obviously, I run this site and I do this podcast, and I see things on Facebook and Twitter that do piss me off, but I've never seen anything on the level of this. Aimed at myself.
I know, it's disgust the amount of effort this motherfucker had to go
you've got
through.
To commend the effort.
Not only that, but some of those quotes that were taken out of context are from this real-time chat room where every day I'm sitting in there giving out free source code and helping backers out and just being this amazing guy. That means someone is sitting in there fucking day and night looking to misquote me. Like, that is just incredible to me. Not only like the level of hate that you must have, but the level of like, what the fuck are you doing with your goddamn life?
Well, you've got to give him credit, man. Look at he's spent a lot of effort on this. Look at this.
Like, with that level of tenacity, couldn't you be out making your own fucking Kickstarter?
It's really fucking shit. Like, if that person would commit even the 10th of the energy that they're committing to just hating on Falco and the team towards anything productive, like this motherfucker could discover a cure for AIDS, for God's sake.
I must say though, Falco, if you don't mind, I will put a link to this image in the.
And
I will say though, to be honest, you don't look too bad in some of these photographs. Some of them are quite flattering.
Oh yeah. I know. I do look. At least I look pretty. Yeah.
He has cherry picked some very nice.
maybe it's like some sort of love-hate relationship.
There's a bit more. Maybe this is like. Yeah, this is a stalker, I think.
He didn't take any of the ones where I was up all night and I looked like shit. He took all the best ones where I was well rested. I was like, all right, well, at least there's that. I hope he waits until my hair transplant grows in, maybe updates it with some nice new hair. That would look good. But back to the question of like, we didn't even answer the question how we handle that kind of shit. Honestly, not that well. I always thought I was the kind of guy who didn't give a shit what other people think. But, when you're already under so much pressure and you have fucking people that are so many people who don't know you, don't know fucking dick about you saying this kind of shit, like it does kind of wear you down in the end. Like, and there was a point where it really kind of like fucked the yes up for me for like a month because I was just so like, it became mature because everyone on the internet thinks I'm a fucking thief and I'm a piece of shit and blah, blah, blah. But one day I just realized like they are ruining fucking game development for me. And that's literally my favorite part of my fucking life is just the elation that I get from fucking coding and creating and pulling my head out of that fucking depression in my ass. That's really when I started the VMU emulator. It's like a little side project that went directly into ES. But like, I just realized like I have to distance myself from this bullshit better than I've been doing because I was always the kind of guy, I would read every fucking comment, no matter how negative, no matter how fucking bad. And I would just be like, I don't give a shit. I can do this. I'm a man. Read every fucking one of them. When there's enough, it's more self-destructive to read that shit. Like I'm not above admitting that like I had to distance myself and I really don't read a lot of those comments anymore. It's just, it's not worth the stress hormone release from fucking reading that kind of toxic bullshit.
No, I mean we've got it on a much like lower level. The both of us, me and Tom, and a few other people on the team. Whenever we write an article about the Dreamcast or something, even on Reddit, there are always people there criticizing
I don't get it. You're fucking like a badass Dreamcast site.
These are guys who have never made or created anything in their lives. They just
exactly.
Some people will shit on you just for the glorious feeling of like shitting out on other people. So. And it's really a death of 1,000 cuts, right? Like, you won't care about 10, 100 comments, but the 1,000th gets to you.
Yeah, it just builds up.
It really shows like why so few game developers are public. Like, there is very few.
Talking about shits and asses. Falco,
yes.
What have I been hearing recently?
Oh, about my little
what happened?
My little infection.
Well, if that's how you want to put it, yeah.
My little anal fungus. Actually, all it really was I had a yeast infection on my ass from, I don't know, like I would take Adderall, work all day and work out at the gym, get really sweaty, and I don't know, maybe I fucking forgot to shower one day in there, and so I had a fucking yeast infection on my ass for a while that was.
Really blew up. It really blew up
on the internet. It blew up on the internet so much that I got a comment from a guy who's like, I had never heard of you or your project until I saw your fucking anal fungus on the front page of a gaming site, and now I bought your game, and I was like, well, holy shit, this fucking yeast infection was actually a blessing, like, and I think it's fucking hilarious that we've been doing all of this, like, really, like, groundbreaking work for the not just for the fucking Dreamcast, for the Dreamcast, for the fucking Ouya, just, like, for 2D fucking modern takes on games in general. No one gives a shit, yet here I make a little fucking half-joking video on YouTube mentioning I have an anal fungus. Oh, boom! I'm on the fucking front page of all the gaming sites. Like, yeah. I think that's fucking hilarious.
Makes you really want to whip out your penis on a live stream and do a helicopter dick. Like, that's gonna.
You know what I mean? Like, if that is what it takes for you motherfuckers to do your job and cover video games, then fuck it. Maybe I'll fucking cultivate some mushrooms on my asshole.
Tom, mate, what's happening? What's happening?
Rein it back in. Guys, we've covered the anal fungus, we've covered Zoe Quinn, we've covered the...
Did you like my segue?
It was beautiful.
It was good, wasn't it?
The most professional...
Thank you.
Something that you touched on very briefly, I want to just talk about quickly, is the Elysian Shadows development kit, Elysian Shadows Tool Kit, and also the Elysian Shadows VMU, which is the VMU emulator.
Right.
Now, the toolkit, can you just kind of explain what that is and how it's going to be beneficial to the Dreamcast community?
So because we're doing all this like crazy shit with our engine, we're representing its 2D sprites and 3D space. We have skeletal animations. We have dynamic lighting. There is no level editor out there to do what we need to do for our engine. So we not only are we developing an engine from fucking scratch with fully extensible with a Lua scripting language, in the same way that, you can make Unity behaviors and stuff, but we are developing this toolkit that allows you to create levels, to import assets, to do all this stuff, basically like Unity, and deploy it to Dreamcast, iPhone, Android, Ouya, Steam, and all these platforms. So that's basically what that is. You can drag and drop light sources, import normal maps, lay tiles.
You guys are making an RPG, obviously, but what kind of games do you envision people might be able to create using these tools?
Literally anything.
Right now, if you, in one line of code, I can apply a gravity vector to the physics engine and it becomes a 2D platformer.
Yeah, like a Sonic. Or
one line of code.
Or you change the camera perspective and you have something like a Quake-free arena.
And that's another thing. Like, people don't understand. And that was something that we committed to on Kickstarter, was that in addition to this game, we're releasing this toolkit, which I have a lot of backers who actually don't give a shit about our game and they only want the toolkit. So when I committed to this project and to this team, I was mostly supposed to be, engine toolkit R&D, because that takes an insane amount of time to do just the technology powering the game. But not only that, but I have to do gameplay now and scripting. That's part of why we're so overworked and we haven't been able to post Kickstarter updates consistently.
I was supposed to do only pixel art and animations and shit. Now I have to do everything visual and build levels and shit. Like that's Falco's doing like job of 5 people. Same with me. Shit happens.
The toolkit is one of the most fascinating things from my perspective, because I'm not a programmer, I'm not a developer, but every single time I put an article on the Dreamcast Junkyard about toolkit, it just goes through the roof with the hits and people share.
Honestly, it's like you can envision it as if Unity supported the Dreamcast now. Like, if my Dreamcast is on the network with a broadband adapter or connected with a fucking coder's cable, or even if you want to burn the image to a disk, if I in real time am editing a level and I change deployment target to Dreamcast and push play, it's submitting the level over the network through the broadband adapter, instantly streaming the assets I can play through as I create it. And like, that is such a powerful thing to be able to do on a Dreamcast, when historically this scene is, the development tools are very low level. It takes like someone very knowledgeable in engineering and low level C and stuff to do much on the Dreamcast. There's a lot of complicated tool chain setup, and I think this is opening the doors to Dreamcast development like substantially, in the same way that Unity's invited people who are not engineers to make games. I'm hoping that this development suite will do the same for the Dreamcast.
To hear that you can change a line of code and you can change the game completely to like a first-person shooter or a platformer, that is just mind-blowing. It's so exciting to hear that. It's just wow.
What I wonder is, like, I mean, as you can probably tell, neither me or Tom are like game developers, and we don't know too much about it. But how much are you using the Dreamcast's Windows CE functionality, and how much are you using the Katana SDK or whatever?
We're not using either at all, because that would be illegal even to do that, and we don't want to get our asses sued up. We're using the Callisti OS to some extent. Some of the stuff, like the graphics, is lower level than that, but some of the higher level stuff we're definitely using Callisti OS. That combined with like just low level access from like fucking data sheets and shit. That's how we're doing it.
And what about the ElysianVMU? I mean, I know we spoke about it very briefly earlier on.
That's my new pet project. So in the same way that the ES Toolkit is trying to open up Dreamcast development to everyone, this is trying to open up the Dreamcast VMU to everyone. So there's this subset of games now, like Elysian Shadows, Xenocider would have been one, Pier Solar, that are cross-platform games that are, tied to the Dreamcast. And an essential part of the Dreamcast experience, I'll go so far as to say that if you have a fucking $150,000 Kickstarter for Dreamcast and you don't have some kind of VMU functionality, what the fuck are you doing? That's part of the Dreamcast experience. But it is very hard, time-consuming, to create a worthwhile VMU minigame. And you're only creating that for a subset of the people who are playing your game for the Dreamcast. Well, how do you deliver equivalent functionality to everyone else? So what ElysianVMU is allowing us to do is it's allowing you to use something like your iPhone as the VMU for, if you're playing on Steam, you can have the VMU as a separate window. You can offload the VMU to your iPhone. It's allowing every other build in a cross-platform game on the Dreamcast to take advantage of the VMU functionality, and you're only writing the VMU game code one time, and it's deploying everywhere. And I want to make it like a background service to where any new cross-platform Dreamcast game can communicate with this VMU submodule that I have and utilize it. And if you plug in like with a PC to Dreamcast USB converter or something, it can actually commit that to your actual VMU, So it's like an internal file system manager actually managing save files on a virtual VMU, and you can load and offload it to a real VMU.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I've got nothing but admiration for not just people who can, like, you know, develop new games, but also people who can bring completely new concepts to the Dreamcast. And this, for me, is one of the most exciting things.
Thanks. And that's always been a big part of this project that I don't think people understand. You know, there are games like Hyper Light Drifter. Oh my God, I fucking was in love with that Kickstarter. It's taken them years and years to finally get the game out. It's made in fucking Game Maker. Like, no offense to them, I'm sure it's an amazing game, but we're developing our entire toolkit from scratch. We're giving you the tools. We're bringing all of this extra stuff to the table for other developers to utilize, you know, and yeah, we're a little late. Like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like, the scope of our project is so much more than just a standard game that you would build in Unity, and I don't think a lot of people...
Plus, we got backstabbed by, like, literally 3/5 of the team. Like, that's also quite a problem, where you start with 5 people and then one after another, you just get a dagger in your ass.
What was it Shigeru Miyamoto said? He said something about delayed game.
Delayed game is eventually good, but rushed game is forever bad.
Exactly.
That's the one, yeah. So, time will tell. I mean, people may be complaining now, and, you know, you've got to understand, you can understand why. This is not a Kickstarter, is not a pre-order. This is a pre-payment. Right. People have put their money down and been worried about that. That's fair enough. But time will tell. I mean, if the end product is good, then, like, I'm sure all the naysayers and all that will be forgotten, and what will be remembered is a great game you've created.
Yeah.
So.
All I can say is that both of us are committed to absolutely, like, finishing the product and making it top notch. Like, there might be delays with time. There are already delays, but the question never was if Elysian Shadows will be finished. The question was when.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to like kind of put you on the spot and say, "Oh, when's it coming?" Because I don't want to give you that kind of stress. However,
I will. When's it coming? I'm joking.
No, honestly, I do have something to say. So there are 2 of us right now. That is, we don't even have a musician right now. Well, not officially. So that is not enough to finish this game in a reasonable time frame. But as I've alluded to before, we have something very, very big in the works right now. I'm under an NDA, and I'm not allowed to discuss it really in detail, but it is addressing the lack of manpower. And I'm waiting right now on contract stuff, and that is not a definitive timeline when that will be done. But once that is done, development will be substantially faster. You know what I mean? So based on when that is done, that will affect the release date. So, like, even if I wanted to, I could not give an accurate projection right now based on that.
Cool. Well, people, you heard it here first. Straight from the I'm not going to call you a horse, Falco, but straight from Falco's mouth. Guys, I think we've kind of come to the natural end of this conversation. I just wanted to ask if you had anything that you wanted to plug. You know, your Twitter accounts, Facebook, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess just check us out on Facebook and Twitter, because that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Be sure to follow us on social media, because, like I said, due to the nature of being able to make continuous small updates, we update those almost every single day with progress, as opposed to Kickstarter, you know, where you have to make a giant ass update detailing everything. We're not as good at updating that.
Yeah, you can follow Falco and Patryk on Twitter at Elysian_Shadows, and also you can visit the official website, which is ElysianShadows.com, and Facebook.com/Elysian Shadows, funnily enough.
The YouTube channel.
Yeah, Ventures in Game Development. If you just type that into the YouTube search box, you'll find Falco and, you know, his lovely messages.
Yep.
But yeah, guys, I just want to really thank you for taking the time to come onto the DreamPod and, you know, speak to us and get dispel some of the myths about the project and also about yourselves, really. So
yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
You know, it was a pleasure.
That's probably going to bring it to the end of the episode now. But Ross, you can't follow Ross on Twitter because he's not on Twitter because he's a Luddite. But he's lurking around the Facebook group. That's the Dreamcast Junkyard Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Dreamcast Junkyard, or you can find our main site, which is thedreamcastjunkyard.co.uk, or you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Lisi. What are you going to say, Ross?
should have an article pretty soon about the Atomic Wave coming up on the main site within the next few days. Maybe by the end of this weekend.
What's that? The Atomic Wave?
Yeah, about the Atomic Wave system, which is based on the Dreamcast architecture.
Cool. Sweet.
Yeah, we will just check out the
Exciting.
blog and every few days, and you'll see.
One final question for you, Patryk. Are you into football at all? Do you follow football?
Totally not.
God damn it! I was going to ask you about Poland's chances in the European Championship, but if you're not interested, then I won't.
I hold deep loathing towards Polish football because we're so much better at literally every single other sport. Yet my country somehow weirdly
strongman's your
exactly.
thing, right?
And yet my country is so weirdly
Pujanowski,
yeah. And there's just it's just like there is so much, or like our handball team, or there was like ski jumping, literally fucking everything, and all the people care about in this country is like football. Why won't they care about the sport that we're actually good at?
I actually lived with a couple Polish guys for about a year, and they were always going on about Pujev, like talking about shit. Can you guess I bet you can, Patryk. Can you guess the one Polish word I learned in the year or two I spent living with them guys?
Kurwa.
Yeah.
Kurwa. Falco, I'm going to come to you for the final word of the podcast. Who is going to win the European Championships?
I have no fucking clue.
Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.